Hi guys, welcome to my channel. This is the overview for the month of December 2021. Now in this video, I'm going to give you the highlights for the month of December, astrologically speaking, and then I am going to get into what these energies can mean for your particular sun or rising sign. And the video is broken down into chapters, so you can click on whichever part you want to watch and go directly to that. So let's start with the basic overview for the month. Now, as we enter December, we are in between eclipses. There was an eclipse on 19th November and there will be an eclipse on December 4th. So we are in between eclipses. And what that means is that we are in a karmic zone. Karmic events, destined events can take place during this period of about 2 weeks. So that's the first thing. Now, the second thing I want to talk about is that November was a month of transformation. We did a lot of releasing, a lot of letting go, and a lot of transformation. Now, this transformation could have been spiritual and very deep. So November was an intense month. A lot of the planets were in Scorpio, and Scorpio energy can bring about a lot of intensity. But as we move into December, it's a lighter energy, although we are in between eclipses. So that was the second thing I wanted to touch upon. Now let's talk about the important transits for this month. So the month begins with Neptune going direct on 1st December. Now Neptune will be the 5th planet to go direct since October, and up until October, a lot of the planets were retrograde. We had Pluto retrograde, Saturn, Jupiter, and Mercury as well. But now, slowly, in the month of October, starting October 6th, I believe, then October 10th and October 18th, those 4 planets went direct. And now Neptune will be the 5th planet to go direct. And what that means is that when planets are retrograde, it's more a period of review and receiving the rewards for the work we put in the past. But as the planets go direct, the forward movement begins. The pace at which things have been going starts to pick up. And Neptune coming direct means things will start to pick up a little bit more. But they picked up in a major way, say around November, energetically speaking. So coming back to Neptune going direct, now Neptune has been retrograde since June 25th of this year, and when Neptune is retrograde, themes associated with Neptune slow down. Now Neptune is the planet of spirituality, it's the planet of connecting with the higher realms. It's a very magical energy, Neptune, and Neptune is also very creative. But Neptune can bring about a lot of confusion, right? So when Neptune is retrograde, all these things sort of ease off, including the confusion, and it's more a time of receiving the rewards for the work we put in, spiritually speaking as well. But Neptune going direct means the spiritual work that we need to do begins again, right? And it can also mean that some amount of confusion can come about. It's not necessary, but it can. So essentially, that's what Neptune going direct means. And I will mention where Neptune will go direct for your sun and rising sign in that section of the video. Now, the next important thing happens on 4th December, a new moon solar eclipse. Now, this is a new moon and an eclipse. Now, an eclipse, like I've already said, is karmic. So eclipses can bring about karmic events, and this is a new moon solar eclipse, which means this can bring about new beginnings. Now, the essential difference between a new moon, a regular new moon, and a new moon solar eclipse is that a new moon energy stays with us for about a month, right? And it is not really karmic. It can be, it's not necessary. But an eclipse energy, a new moon eclipse energy, can stay with us for a much longer time, about 6 months or even longer. So that's the first difference, how long the energy stays with us. The second difference is that eclipses are, generally speaking, karmic. So those are the two differences. Now, this is a new moon solar eclipse, which means it's about new beginnings, it's about new energy coming in. And since it is happening in the sign of Sagittarius, this will be connected to Sagittarian themes of being optimistic, of learning things, of acquiring wisdom, of knowledge, of going on an adventure, of perhaps just exploring, right? And Sagittarius, generally speaking, is a very optimistic, hopeful, joyous, seeing the glass half full kind of energy. So as with this eclipse, the new beginning seems to be a positive one, although I will break down the exact energy of the eclipse in my eclipse video. So that's the basic overview of the eclipse. Now, this eclipse is happening at 12 degrees of Sagittarius. So look at your chart for 12 degrees of Sagittarius, and that's where this new energy is going to come in, that particular house. And you can always wait for the rising sign section to know the approximate of where this energy will be in your particular chart, depending on your sun and rising sign. But the best thing is to know where 12 degrees of Sagittarius is for you. Now moving on to 13th December. On 13th December, we have both Mercury and Mars changing signs, right? Mercury will enter the sign of Capricorn and Mars will enter the sign of Sagittarius. So let's talk about Mars first and then we will talk about Mercury. Mars is taking action. Mars is our drive, right? It's initiative, very generally speaking. And Mars in Scorpio is a great placement for Mars, which it has been till December 13th. And that's more of an all or nothing way of doing things, Mars taking action in a very intense way. But Sagittarius is different. We can take action in a more, let's see where this goes. Let's explore this. Let me do this and see how this goes. Let's have fun with it. Let's do it and have fun with this thing. So that's Mars in Sagittarius. It's not as intense as Mars in Scorpio. It's not all or nothing. Let's do this. Let's give it my all like Mars in Scorpio. But it's more like, okay, let's explore this. Let's have fun with this. I'll do this thing. I'll take action. I'll take initiative. But just to see what happens. So that's Mars in Sagittarius. So we'll see this shift in how we do things come about starting December 13th from a very intense, all or nothing, deep commitment Scorpio sort of vibe to let's go on an adventure. Let's see how this goes. Way of doing things, getting things done, or simply our drive. Now Mercury is going to enter the sign of Capricorn. And Mercury was in Sagittarius up until December 13th. And Mercury in Sagittarius is, first of all, Mercury is the planet of our thinking and communication. So Mercury in Sagittarius is a very optimistic way of communicating and a very optimistic way of thinking as well. But Mercury feels a little lost in Sagittarius. It's not the best placement for Mercury. So Mercury in Capricorn is going to be a shift in our thinking and communication from let's go on an adventure, let's explore this, from a very optimistic outlook. Our thinking and communication is going to transition into serious communication. Communication that is more, I commit. That sort of communication and thinking. It's a very serious energy, Capricorn. And the communication and thinking when Mercury is in Capricorn becomes very serious. So we'll see that shift as well. And I'm not saying that if you're Scorpio, you're this, or if you're Sag, you're this, and if you're Capricorn, you're this. I'm just saying that generally speaking, these signs are serious or optimistic or all or nothing and intense, and it doesn't mean you are that way even if you're one of these signs, because we all have these energies in our chart somewhere. We all have Scorpio somewhere, we all have Sag somewhere, and Capricorn somewhere. So we all have this in varying intensities. I just wanted to clarify that. Now moving on to December 18th, we have a full moon in Gemini. And this full moon is happening at 27 degrees of Gemini. So look for 27 degrees of Gemini in your chart, and this is where the full moon energy is going to impact you. Now, generally speaking, full moons are about completions, culminations, and release. So this is a day of completions, culminations, and release. And since it's a full moon in Gemini, the themes associated with this are Gemini themes of communicating, thinking, the immediate environment, social media, all these themes. And we had a new moon solar eclipse on June 10th in the sign of Gemini at 19 degrees. So perhaps something that started back then, some energy that came into your life back then, June 10th, is now culminating and completing itself, or you're releasing something connected to these themes that I mentioned: communication, thinking, immediate environment, or something that started in June of 2021. But the best thing is to look at 27 degrees of Gemini and know where this energy is happening for you. And again, I will break down the details of this energy in my full moon video. Okay, moving on to December 19th, we have two important events happening on December 19th. First of all, Venus is going to go retrograde. Now, Venus retrogrades about every 18 months, and it retrogrades in the same sign every 8 years. So December 19th, Venus is going to go retrograde. Now, Venus retrogrades are a period of review for our love, relationships, and finances. And generally speaking, it's not the best time to start new things connected to finance or relationships. And the past can come back up for review connected to these themes: love, money, relationships, for you to resolve or, just make peace with it or close it out completely. Now, Venus is going to retrograde in the sign of Capricorn. Now, Capricorn is a very serious energy, right? Capricorn is a Saturn ruled energy. It's about commitments, it's about seriousness, it's about hard work and decisions and discipline. So during this retrograde, I believe we will be assessing what relationships and projects can we commit to, what relationships and projects can we be serious about for the long run. This is that assessment zone. That's the first thing. The second thing is that Venus will retrograde on Pluto. It's going to be very close to Pluto when it retrogrades. And what this means is this Venus retrograde can really transform Pluto, our relationships, love, money, and just simply how we feel about ourselves, Venus. It's going to be a very transformative retrograde. Now, the next thing about this retrograde is that think of December 2013 and Jan 2014. Venus retrograded last time in Capricorn during that time period. So themes might come back from that time for you to close out and review. So this is that 8-year cycle of 2013 December, 2014 Jan, now coming back up. And Venus will retrograde between 11 and 26 degrees of Capricorn. So look at your chart where 11 and 26 degrees of Capricorn is, and that's the area where Venus will retrograde. And typically speaking, for your individual chart, Venus retrogrades can re-infuse that area with, you can say, energy. So that might happen as well, 11 to 26 degrees of Capricorn in your chart. And look for 11 to 26 degrees of Capricorn in your particular chart to know exactly where Venus will retrograde and what themes might come back up for you connected to whichever house or whichever houses that 11 to 26 degree Capricorn slot lies in. So that's another important thing in December, that we will be reviewing our relationships and finances and just how we feel about ourselves, with an approach of, can I commit to this? Can I be serious about this? So that's Venus retrograde on December 19th. And since it is going to be almost conjunct Pluto, it's going to transform these things in a major way. And it can just be a deep transformation of how we feel about ourselves, right? Venus is also our self-worth, which we do not speak about too much. Venus is also our values. It's what we value. So it's not necessary that we undergo a massive relationship transformation or a massive transformation when it comes to our finances or material wealth. It could simply be a transformation how we feel about ourselves, Venus, a transformation in what we value. Our values might change slightly, or a transformation in our skills as well, right? So anything connected to Venus can come up for review, can transform, and the themes connected to the house where Capricorn is can come back up as well, and themes from 2013 December, 2014 Jan can come back up as well. So that's Venus retrograde. And on the same day, we have Chiron going direct. Now, Chiron is the wounded healer. Chiron represents our deepest wounds, but it also represents the power to heal ourselves and others because of that wound, right? We've suffered so much because of this particular wound that Chiron represents that we know all about it. We know how the ins and outs of it, and because of that we've healed ourselves, and because of that we can heal others. So Chiron in our chart represents that hidden power of healing that unlocks itself after we learn to heal ourselves and get over that pain. So that's Chiron, and Chiron is going direct. And similarly, themes connected to Chiron will start to play out again during Chiron retrograde. It's more a review of the work we did with Chiron, a review of all the work we did to heal ourselves and close out those wounds. But now Chiron goes direct, and the active process of healing, which might feel bittersweet because Chiron can feel bittersweet, will start again. And look, I will mention where Chiron is for your particular sign, but look at your chart to see where Chiron is, and those are the themes that might be coming back up for review and now to work on with Chiron going direct on December 19th. Now, on December 21st, we have the Sun changing signs. The Sun is going to leave Sag and enter Capricorn. Now, Sag and Capricorn are very different energies. The Sun in Sag lightened up a lot of things after the intensity of November. The Sun entered Sagittarius on November 21st. So it was a lighter energy from November 21st. It was a more optimistic energy. It was more fun-loving. But now the Sun is going to enter Capricorn, and Capricorn, like I said, is a Saturn-ruled sign. It's serious, it's committed, it works hard, it's disciplined. So that's going to be the general vibe as the Sun enters the sign of Capricorn. And towards the end of the month, we have two extremely important events. We have on December 24th, the Saturn Uranus square. Now, this is the third time these planets are squaring. Now, the Saturn Uranus square is something that we're seeing after 21 years. The last time this happened was in the year 2000. So it's a rare energy to go through. And we've been going through this energy. I will explain what this energy is in a moment. The Saturn Uranus square energy all year. Now the square came exact in Feb, then in June, and now it will come exact on December 24th. Now what is this energy? So a square typically represents friction and change, right? And Saturn and Uranus squaring represents the friction between the old and the new, the friction between our true authentic selves, Uranus, our individuality, Uranus, our uniqueness, Uranus, versus Saturn, right? Friction between that, the traditional, the rules, Saturn. So very simply put, this energy is about embracing our true, authentic, unique self and the new, while getting rid of the old, getting rid of the idea of who we think we should be that does not serve us any longer. And now on December 24th, this energy is going to peak, right? And this will be the last time the square comes exact, although all of next year Saturn and Uranus will square as well. So we will be working on embracing our truth, embracing our true authentic self, our unique self, embracing the new and getting rid of the old, and getting rid of the idea of who we think we should be for in the next year as well. But this is the intensity at its peak of this energy. And the third time is the most helpful time, right? They've squared twice before. This is the third time. So Feb would have felt very intense when they squared. June, intense. But this will also feel intense, but not as intense as the other two squares. But the theme is the same. Getting rid of the old, embracing the new. And then on December 28th, we have Jupiter changing signs. It's going to enter the sign of Pisces. Now, Jupiter entered the sign of Pisces, I believe, on 14th May 2021, and then it retrograded back into Aquarius. And Jupiter spends about 12 months in a particular sign, and it enters a particular sign after 12 years. So the last time we saw Jupiter in Pisces was between 2010 and 2011. So similar themes might come back up into your lives from 2010 and 2011. But always be mindful of the fact that the other planetary placements are different. So the exact same theme will not come back. You might see glimpses of themes repeat themselves, but since the other planets are in different positions, the exact themes will not come back. Now, let's talk about Jupiter in Pisces a little bit. So for the past 2 years, Jupiter has transited the signs of Capricorn and Aquarius. Now, Jupiter does not feel comfortable in these two signs, and that is because Capricorn is a Saturn-ruled energy, and Aquarius used to be a Saturn-ruled energy. Now Uranus rules Aquarius, but before Uranus, Saturn used to rule Aquarius as well. And what that means is that Jupiter doesn't really function too well in Capricorn and Aquarius. Now, Jupiter is blessings, it's gifts, it's rewards, it's also lessons. And all these things can feel harsh when Jupiter is transiting Capricorn and Aquarius, right? But Jupiter loves the sign of Pisces. It used to rule the sign of Pisces before Neptune was given the rulership over Pisces, right? So Jupiter loves to be there. It feels comfortable there. And Jupiter in Pisces means that the gifts, the rewards, the blessings, the lessons can function in a very easy manner when Jupiter is in Pisces. And the themes connected to Pisces will come back up as well. Spirituality, connecting with the higher realms, creativity, connecting with the higher realms, and these themes will come back up. But Jupiter in Pisces can also bring about lessons connected to the negative manifestation of Pisces. Every sign has a positive and negative manifestation, right? It's not just Pisces. Every sign has that. And for Pisces, that can be escapism, that can be addictions, that can be drugs and all that stuff. So lessons pertaining to these might come up as well as Jupiter transits the sign of Pisces. Now, the best thing to do is to know where Pisces lies in your chart and then figure out what Jupiter is going to be doing in that part of your chart, right? Gifts, blessings, rewards, and lessons will come to which part of your life depending on the house. I will mention the house in the sun rising section of the video. So that's the month of December. And to sum it up, I would say that as we enter December, we are in a karmic zone, a fated, destined zone. And the energy will be easier than it was in the month of November. And the new moon solar eclipse on November 4th will be a new beginning. And this beginning in the sign of Sagittarius has undertones of being very positive. And We also have the Saturn Uranus square come exact this month. So all of December, we'll feel the intensity more acutely of this Saturn Uranus square than we did in November. So if December has this underlying intensity to it, it's because of the Saturn Uranus square saying, hey, embrace the new, hey, change. Find your authentic self, be your true self, get rid of the old, get rid of the idea of who you think you should be. So December might have that underlying intensity because all of December, this Saturn-Uranus square is building till December 24th. So December will also be a month where we do a lot of the work in embracing the new, in getting rid of the old, in embracing our truth and getting rid of the idea of who we think we should be. And Venus retrograding in the month of December will ask us to review our commitments to our relationships and projects. And it can also transform how we feel about ourselves, our skills, all Venus-related things as well. And Jupiter entering the sign of Pisces by the end of December is a good thing. And we'll feel the blessings, the rewards, even the lessons in a, I don't want to say better, in an easier way than we have in the past 2 years. So that's the month of December, a very positive yet transformative month, I would say. And now I will pick a card or two for the month of December and then we'll get into the sun and rising signs. So let's start with perhaps this deck. It says creativity, seize the day. Maybe this is referring to the fact that Neptune is going direct and Neptune is spiritual and creative both. So maybe this is an opportunity for us to be creative this month, right? Let's go with this. Freedom. I possess the power and the free will to create my own happiness, and I think this is referring to the Saturn-Uranus square energy that we will feel all month, which is about what? In one word that can be said to be freedom, right? It's the freedom from the old, it's the freedom from the ideas of who we think we should be, and it's embracing the new, it's embracing our truth, right? And we can truly feel free only when we are our unique, authentic self. We cannot feel free when we pretend to be something we're not. So that's the lesson for the month of December, that that I possess the power and the free will to create my own happiness. Let's go with this deck. See a lot of cards that flipped out. So. Patience. I think December is also a month that's asking us to have some patience. I don't know why this is though, but it's asking us to have some patience. Perhaps because we've been doing a lot of work in changing, in embracing our true authentic self, and maybe we're getting impatient for the outcome or the results, so to speak. So maybe this card is saying that be patient. Okay. Regeneration. This is actually, to me, this is a Scorpio card, right? This represents Scorpio to me because Scorpio is ruled by Pluto. Pluto is regeneration, renewal. But I think this month is a month of regeneration. You see how this tree is, I don't know if you can see it, barren in a way, but now the leaves are growing back up. So Usually after Scorpio, the dark, right? We try to find the light in Scorpio. We transform in Scorpio. And Sag is about the light. So maybe now we've done that work of really going within and transforming. And now we can see some sort of renewal, perhaps, right? And let's go with one more. Relaxation. I think December is also a month of relaxation. So I think to sum it up, I would say it's a month where we're asked to cultivate our creativity, take it a little easy, be patient. Some renewal is taking place, but the main message is that we have the freedom and the free will to create our own happiness this month. So those are the cards, and now I will talk about what the month might mean for each sun and rising sign. So I would recommend watching your rising sign and then your sun sign. And let's start with Aries. So Aries, Neptune is going to go direct in your 12th house, and Neptune in your 12th house can bring you a lot of spirituality or confusion connected to the 12th house, which is Neptune ruled. So the theme of being very spiritual or feeling a little confused is more magnified for you than other signs because it's happening in the house ruled by Neptune. Then on December 4th, we have the new moon solar eclipse in your 9th house, bringing in new energy connected to the 9th house, higher education, foreign travel, wisdom, acquiring knowledge. And then the full moon is going to be in your 3rd and 9th house axis because Gemini is your 3rd house. So matters connected to communication, thinking, social media, your immediate environment, along with the 9th house, foreign travel, higher education, wisdom will be highlighted with this full moon on December 18th. Then Venus is going to retrograde in your 10th house of business and career. So matters connected to business and career might really come up when Venus retrogrades on December 19th, Aries. Then on the same day, Chiron is going to go direct, and Chiron is in Aries, in your sign, in your 1st house. So the bittersweet healing that I spoke about in the month's overview will be connected to you, your identity, how the world sees you, how you present yourself to the world, and perhaps even your appearances. Now, the Saturn Uranus square on December 24th is going to happen in your 11th and 2nd house. Saturn is in your 11th house and Uranus is in your 2nd house. So the themes of the 11th and 2nd house will be highlighted with this transition from the old into the new. And the 11th house is you. It's your authentic self. It's your unique self. It's your social circle, the groups that you belong to, your hopes, goals, and dreams, your desires. And the 2nd house is the house of finances, of self-worth, what you value. So all these things will be highlighted with the square, which it has been all of this year. And Jupiter is going to enter Pisces on December 28th, which is your 12th house. So again, the themes of the 12th house will receive blessings, gifts, rewards, and even lessons. And those themes are spirituality, closing out the past, the subconscious mind, drugs, delusions, addictions, depression, escapism, if that applies to you. So that's the month for you, Aries. A lot of focus initially on the 9th house of higher education, learning, foreign travel. Towards the end of the month, it transitions into the house of business and career, and the Saturn Uranus will be felt in your 11th and 2nd house. So that's Aries. Now coming to Taurus. Taurus, Neptune is in your 11th house, right? So Neptune can bring about confusion or a feeling of connecting with spirituality through matters of the 11th house. Now, those things are your true authentic self, your hopes, goals, and dreams, your social circle, the groups that you belong to. So, for example, it could be that you feel confused about who you really are because Neptune can do that, right? Your true authentic self, you feel confused about that. Or through a group that you've joined recently, you feel more in tune with spirituality, things like that. Now, the new moon eclipse on December 4th will happen in your 7th house. Sorry, not 7th, that's Gemini. Will happen in your 8th house. So the new energy that will come in matters connected to the 8th house: transformation, endings, beginnings, hidden things, occult things, intimate relationships. So that's the new energy coming into your 8th house. And the full moon on December 18th will be in your 2nd and 8th house axis, which means it is going to highlight, on one hand, your finances, your material possessions, your skills, your self-worth, what you value on one hand, and the 8th house: transformation, hidden things, occult things, intimate relationships on the other. Now, the Venus retrograde is going to be in your 9th house, so matters connected to higher education, foreign travel, your belief system, knowledge, acquiring knowledge, wisdom, law, publishing might come under review as Venus retrogrades in your 9th house. And Chiron is in your 12th house. So the bittersweet healing will start to happen. Matters connected to your 12th house: spirituality, connecting with the higher realms, closing out the past, drugs, delusions, addictions, escapism, if those apply to you. And the Saturn Uranus square will take place in your 10th and 1st house, Taurus. So it will highlight the 10th house, business and career on one hand, and the 1st house, you, your identity, who you are, how the world sees you, how you present yourself to the world on the other. And Pisces is your 11th house, so Jupiter will enter your 11th house, giving you gifts, blessings, and rewards connected to the 11th house: your hopes, goals, and dreams, your true authentic self, your unique self, the groups that you belong to, science, tech, and innovation, if that applies to you. So that's the month for you, Taurus. A lot of focus on the 8th house in the beginning of the month, of the hidden, of the occult, of deep transformations, of endings, beginnings, intimate relationships, which transitions into your 9th house of higher learning, belief system, wisdom, knowledge, acquiring knowledge, law, publishing towards the end of the month. And Gemini, let's talk about the month for you. Now, Gemini Neptune is in your 10th house, so you might feel confused about your business or career, or through your business and career, you might connect with spirituality. And with Neptune going direct, that energy begins again. I shouldn't say begin, it never stopped, but it picks up a bit more. And the new moon solar eclipse is going to happen in your 7th house, so it will bring in new energy connected to marriage, business partnerships, legal issues, regulations, all those things. And the full moon is going to happen in your sign, so it's going to highlight your 1st and 7th house axis, which means it's going to highlight you, your identity, who you are, how the world sees you on one hand, and your marriage, your business partnerships, your legal issues, legal relationships, regulations on the other. And Venus is going to retrograde in your 8th house, so themes connected to the occult, the hidden, intimate relationships, ending something, deep transformation, catharsis as well will come up for review during Venus retrograde. And Chiron is in your 11th house, so the bittersweet healing will pick up pace in your 11th house of the social circle, in your true authentic self, in science, tech, and innovation, if that applies to you, your hopes, goals, and dreams. And the Saturn Uranus square Gemini is going to be in your 9th and 12th house. So what will be highlighted with the Saturn Uranus square for you is the 9th house of belief system, higher education, foreign travel, acquiring knowledge, wisdom on one hand, and the 12th house of spirituality, of closing out the past, the subconscious, and if drugs, delusions, escapism, addictions apply to you, then those as well. And Jupiter is going to enter the sign of Pisces. Now, Gemini, Pisces is your 10th house, so the blessings, the rewards, and the lessons will be connected to your business and career as Jupiter moves through the sign of Pisces. Now, Cancer, Neptune is in your 9th house, so you might be feeling confused about, say, higher education or foreign travel or your beliefs or acquiring some knowledge. Or you might be feeling very spiritual about these things. Perhaps through some knowledge, you feel more spiritual. Perhaps through some higher education that you've done, you feel more in line with the higher realms. Could be any one of these things. Either feeling confused about 9th house or feeling spiritual through matters of the 9th house. Now, the eclipse for you is happening in your 6th house, so new energy is coming into your house of health and job and day-to-day routine and lifestyle and diet and exercise and all these things. And the full moon will be in your 12th and 6th house axis. So what this full moon is going to highlight for you on one hand is spirituality, spiritual practices, closing out the past, the subconscious, drugs, delusions, addictions, depression, if that applies to you, as well as the 6th house of health, job, day-to-day routine, lifestyle. And Venus will retrograde in the sign of Capricorn, which is your 7th house. So you may need to review matters connected to the 7th house, which are marriage, business partnerships, legal issues, legal relationships. And Chiron is in your 10th house. So that bittersweet healing that we spoke about will happen in your house of business and career. And the Saturn Uranus square for you, Cancer, will be in your 8th and 11th house, highlighting themes of transformation, endings, beginnings, catharsis, intimate relationships, occult things on one hand, and the 11th house, your true self, your authentic self, your unique self, your hopes, goals, and dreams, your desires, the groups that you belong to, science, tech, and innovation on the other. And Jupiter is going to enter the sign of Pisces towards the end of the month, which is your 9th house, giving you gifts, blessings, rewards, and even lessons connected to your belief system, knowledge, higher knowledge, wisdom, higher education, foreign travel, publishing, law, all 9th house things. Moving on to Leo. Neptune has been in your 8th house, Leo, which means you can feel confused about 8th house things, or the 8th house things can help you connect more with your spiritual self. Now, the 8th house is the hidden, it's the occult, it's transformations, it's endings, it's beginnings, it's intimate relationships. So it could be that you feel confused about, I don't know, these are just examples, maybe an intimate relationship. Or it could be that through an intimate relationship, you feel more spiritually connected. It could be anything connected to the 8th house. I'm just saying intimate relationships. Now, the new moon solar eclipse will be in your 5th house. Sag is your 5th house. So new energy will come in to your life connected to the 5th house. Creativity, hobbies, fun, pleasure, children, romance, love, all these things. And the full moon in Gemini will also be in your 11th and 5th house axis, right, Leo? So it is going to highlight on one hand your creativity, love, romance, children, having fun on one hand, and on the other hand, 11th house, your authentic self, your unique self, your hopes, goals, and dreams, your social circle, the groups that you belong to, and the organizations that you're a part of. And Venus will retrograde in your 6th house, Leo, asking you to review themes connected to your health, job, lifestyle, day-to-day routine, diet, exercise, all these things. And Chiron is in your 9th house, so that bittersweet healing will pick up pace in matters connected to the 9th house, higher education, wisdom, your belief system, publishing, all these things. And the Saturn Uranus square for you, Leo, is happening in your 7th and 10th house. So the themes that it will highlight, which it has been highlighting all year, are 1, the 10th house, your business and career, and 2, the 7th house, your marriage, your legal relationships, your partnerships, all these things. And Jupiter is going to enter the sign of Pisces, Leo. Pisces is your 8th house. So it is going to give you blessings, gifts, rewards, and even lessons connected to the 8th house. 8th house is the occult. It's the hidden. It's intimate relationships. It's endings. It's catharsis. It's renewal. So all these things. Now, Virgo. For you, Neptune's in your 7th house, so two things could be happening. You can feel very confused about your marriage or your business partnerships, or you can feel very spiritual through your marriage and business partnerships, right? And the new moon solar eclipse is happening in your 4th house of your deepest emotions, your family, your foundation, all these things. So there will be new energy coming in to this part of your life, right? And the full moon is going to, on December 18th, is going to highlight your 4th and 10th house axis. So your home, your deepest emotions, taking care of yourself, nourishing yourself on one hand, and your business and career on the other hand. Now Venus is going to retrograde in Capricorn, and Capricorn is your 5th house, so themes connected to love, romance, children, creativities, hobbies, fun, pleasure will come back up for review as Venus retrogrades in the sign of Capricorn. Now Chiron is in your 8th house, so that bittersweet healing that we spoke about will start to pick up pace in matters connected to the 8th house, the hidden, the occult, endings, beginnings, catharsis, renewal, all 8th house things, intimate relationships. And the Saturn Uranus square for you, Virgo, is happening in your 6th and 9th house, right? So it is going to highlight the 6th house on one hand, your job, your health, your diet, your routine, your lifestyle. And on the other hand, your 9th house of beliefs, of knowledge, of acquiring knowledge, wisdom, higher education, foreign travel. And Jupiter is going to enter the sign of Pisces by the end of the month, your 7th house. So it's going to give you gifts, rewards, and blessings connected to your marriage, business partnerships, and legal issues. Now Libra. Neptune's in your 6th house, so you can feel confused about your diet, your routine, your health, your lifestyle, your day-to-day, your job, or through these things, you can become more spiritual, right? And the new moon solar eclipse is happening in your 3rd house, so new energy is coming in to your thinking, your mind, your communication, your immediate environment, social media, if that applies to you, all 3rd house things. And the full moon in Gemini is going to highlight your 3rd and 9th house axis, Libra, which means it is going to highlight your thinking, your communication, your mind, your immediate environment on one hand, and higher education, foreign travel, wisdom, acquiring knowledge on the other. Now Venus is going to retrograde in your 4th house, asking you to review matters connected to your family, your friends, your closest friends, your deepest emotions, and taking care of yourself. The Saturn Uranus square for you is happening in your 5th and 8th house, right? So the themes that will come with the Saturn Uranus square for you are the 5th and 8th house themes. So the 5th house is creativity, children, hobbies, fun, pleasure, love, romance, and the 8th house is the occult, it's the hidden, it's intimate relationships, it's endings, it's beginnings, it's catharsis. So these are the themes that the Saturn Uranus square is bringing up for you. Now Jupiter enters Pisces towards the end of the month, your 6th house. So blessings and rewards can come into your life in your health, job, routine, diet, lifestyle. Moving on to Scorpio. Neptune is in your 5th house, so you might feel confused about the 5th house, or you might feel very spiritual through matters of the 5th house. So you might feel very confused about romance or children or creativities or your hobbies, or through romance or your children or through creativities or your hobbies, you might become more spiritual. Now this new moon solar eclipse is happening in your 2nd house, so new energy is coming in to your house of material possessions, finances, self-worth, values, and skills. And the full moon in Gemini is going to be on the 2nd and 8th house axis. So it is going to highlight your material possessions, your skills, your self-worth on one hand, and the 8th house of the hidden, the occult, intimate relationships, endings, beginnings, catharsis, regeneration on the other. Now Venus is going to retrograde in your 3rd house, asking you to review themes connected to your mind, your thinking, your communication, your immediate environment, your peer group, your siblings. And towards the end of the month, the Saturn Uranus square is happening in your 4th and 7th house. So the themes that will come up for you are your home, your family, your foundation, your deepest emotions on one hand, and your marriage, your business partnerships and legal issues on the other. And Jupiter is going to enter the sign of Pisces, your 5th house, and give you gifts, blessings, and even lessons connected to children, creativity, hobbies, fun, and pleasure. Now, Sag, for you, Neptune's in your 4th house. You might feel confused about your family, your deepest emotions, your roots even, and taking care of yourself. Or you might feel very spiritual through these areas of your life, through taking care of yourself, through your family, through your closest friends. So that's Neptune in your 4th house. Now the new moon solar eclipse is happening in your sign, which makes it your 1st house. So new energy is coming in to you, your identity, who you are, how you present yourself to the world, how the world sees you, your appearance even, all these things. And the full moon in Gemini will highlight your 1st and 7th house axis. So matters connected to you, your identity, your appearances, how the world sees you, how you present yourself to the world will be highlighted on one hand, and on the other, matters connected to marriage, business partnerships, legal issues, legal relationships will be highlighted on the other hand. Now, Sag, Venus is going to retrograde in your 2nd house of material possessions, finances, self-worth, values, and skills, asking you to review these areas. And the Saturn Uranus square for you is happening in your 3rd and 6th house. So what the Saturn Uranus square will bring up are themes connected to your thinking, communication, immediate environment, peer group, siblings on one hand, and your health, job, day-to-day routine, lifestyle on the other. And Jupiter is going to enter the sign of Pisces by the end of the month, your 4th house, giving you gifts, blessings, and even rewards connected to your deepest emotions, your family, your foundation, and just taking care of yourself. Now, Capricorn. Neptune is going to go direct in your 3rd house. Now, you can feel confused where Neptune is, or you can feel very spiritual where Neptune is. So for you, that's the 3rd house. So you might feel confused about your own thinking, about communication, about your siblings or immediate environment, or through thinking, through communication, through 3rd house things, writing, social media, editing, all these things, you might feel more spiritually connected. Now, the new moon solar eclipse is happening in your 12th house, so new energy is coming in to your 12th house of spirituality, closing out the past, drugs, delusions, addictions, depression, if that applies to you. And the full moon in Gemini is going to highlight your 12th and 6th house axis. So on one hand, it is going to highlight your spirituality, your subconscious mind, closing out the past, drugs, delusions, addictions, depression, if that applies to you. And on the other hand, it is going to highlight your health, job, diet, lifestyle, routine, exercise. Now, Venus is going to retrograde in your sign, Capricorn, in your 1st house, asking you to review matters connected to yourself, your identity, who you are, your appearances, how the world sees you, how you present yourself to the world, your leadership even. And Chiron is going to go direct in your 4th house. Right? So that bittersweet healing will pick up pace connected to your family, foundation, deepest emotions, nourishing yourselves and taking care of yourself. And the Saturn Uranus square for you, Capricorn, is going to happen in your 2nd and 5th house. So it will highlight themes connected to your finances, material possessions, your skills, your self-worth, values on one hand, and hobbies, fun, pleasure, love, romance, creativity, children on the other. And Jupiter will enter your 3rd house, giving you gifts, blessings, rewards, and lessons connected to your mind, thinking, communication, social media, immediate environment, peer groups, siblings, etc. Now, Aquarius, Neptune is going to go direct in your 2nd house. So you might have been feeling confused about matters of the 2nd house, finances, material possessions, your self-worth, values, and skills. Or through these things, you might connect to the spiritual realms. Perhaps you learned a skill that helps you connect more with spirituality or anything connected to the 2nd house. Then the new moon solar eclipse is happening in your 11th house, Aquarius. So new energy is coming in to your 11th house of your true authentic self, your hopes, goals, and dreams, your desires, your goals, science, tech and innovation, your social circle, so all these things. And the full moon in Gemini is going to be in your 11th and 5th house axis. So it will highlight your true authentic self, your hopes, goals and dreams, your desires, science, tech, innovation, if that applies to you, the groups that you belong to on one hand, and on the other hand, it is going to highlight love, romance, creativity, children, hobbies, fun, pleasure. And Venus will retrograde in your 12th house, asking you to review matters connected to spirituality, the subconscious mind, closing out the past, drugs, delusions, depression, addiction, if those apply to you. And Chiron will start to go direct in your 3rd house, picking up the pace for that bittersweet healing in your 3rd house of your mind, thinking, communication, immediate environment, peer group, siblings. Now for you, the Saturn Uranus square is happening in your 1st and 4th house, right? So it will highlight themes connected to the 1st house, which is you, your identity, who you are, how the world sees you. And on the other hand, your home, your family, your foundation, your deepest emotions. And Jupiter is going to enter the sign of Pisces, which is your 2nd house, giving you gifts, blessings, and rewards connected to your self-worth, values, skills, and finances. Now, Pisces, Neptune is in your 1st house, so you might feel very confused about your identity or who you are, or through your own identity, you might become more spiritual. So that's Neptune in your 1st house. The new moon solar eclipse will happen in your 10th house. So new energy coming into your career and business. And the full moon in Gemini will highlight your 10th and 4th house axis. So it will highlight your business and career on one hand, and your home, your family, your foundation, your deepest emotions on the other. Now Venus will retrograde in your 11th house on December 19th, asking you to review matters connected to the 11th house. And these are your true authentic self, your hopes, goals and dreams, your desires, the groups that you belong to, the organizations that you're a part of. And Chiron will go direct in your 2nd house, so that bittersweet healing will pick up pace connected to your material possessions, your finances, self-worth, values and skills. And the Saturn Uranus square for you will highlight your 12th and 3rd house. So it will highlight themes connected to your spirituality, your subconscious mind, your closing out the past, drugs, delusions, addictions, depression, if those apply to you on one hand, and on the other, your mind, your thinking, your communication, your immediate environment, your peer group, your siblings on the other. And Jupiter will enter your sign Pisces, giving you gifts and blessings connected to you, your identity, and even bringing about lessons connected to you, your identity, who you are, how the world sees you, your leadership. So that is the month for the sun and rising signs, and take these with a pinch of salt, because the houses that I've mentioned may not actually be the same for your sun or rising sign, right? So always keep that in mind. And this is just a basic general overview. A lot depends on what's happening in your personal chart, where the planets are in your personal chart. So the best thing is to look at your personal chart to know where everything is happening, right? But this is a good general guide. It's a guide. It's not definite. And that's pretty much it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And now I will see you in one of my other videos. Have a great day. Bye.